it's Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com. Today you are in video number 2 of the Sweet Gingerbread Stamp-a-Stack series. So we're going to make this Sending Love from Our Home to Yours Have a Sweet Christmas card. It's part of a 10-card Stamp-a-Stack. If you've missed video number 1 where we made this real red version, the link to that is below. And our next video in the series is this garden green version. I love these Stamp-a-Stacks, especially at Christmas time. We're going to get a lot of cards done quickly together. If you're interested, there are Sweet Gingerbread Stamp-a-Stack class packets still available at the Kitchen Table Stamper store. Just buzz over to kitchentablestamper.com/shop. When you get there, there's a filter on the right-hand side. Drop down to class packets and you'll be able to see if we have the Sweet Gingerbread Stamp-a-Stack and any other class packets that might be there waiting for you. All right, so this is a Wonder Recipe number 12, number 20 class. Our Wonder recipes are one-sheet wonders. They are 6x6 one-sheet wonders. The templates are available on the blog, printable for you. Just follow the links in the description below. And we're going to choose 2 pieces of designer series paper from the Sweetest Christmas designer series paper. If you get the packet, you've got 6x6 sheets, a quarter of a package in your class packet. And I'm sticking with my sample. I love these papers. And unfortunately, I love both sides of these papers, but we're going to go ahead and cut these 2 pieces according to the Wonder Recipe number 20, and then we'll have all the pieces that we need for this design and for the 3rd design in the series. Let me get my trimmer here, and we're going to cut our first pattern at 4 inches. And then we're going to rotate 2 inches and cut 2-inch slices off. Now these are the pieces that we're going to use for this design. Let's go ahead back to this 2x6 piece. We're going to cut this at 2 inches and 2 inches again. And these are the pieces that we're going to use for our 3rd and final design. Now, if you joined us in video number 1, which I recommend you run through the series on this, you know that from the first card, we reserved some 2x2 pieces when we cut this pattern according to Wonder Recipe number 12. So what I'm going to do is just drop these pieces in the grid and put it aside for our final video. And then these, we can just pop in the grid here, and let's do the same thing with our 2nd sheet. There are the pieces for this design. Pop those in our grid, and then reserve the 2x2 squares for the 3rd design. I love these Wonder recipes. You can just cut the paper and deal out the pieces. Then you use every scrap of the paper in an efficient and creative manner. It also gives you the courage to cut the paper. Sometimes the papers are so pretty, like this one, with both sides being beautiful. If you've got the Wonder Recipe template and the courage to cut the paper, then once the paper is cut, you're kind of committed and you can follow through by choosing your cardstock and ink colors from the designer series paper that you chose, and everything just kind of comes together. You can search on Kitchen Table Stamper in the right-hand menu and find the Wonder Recipe category, which will show you all the Wonder recipes, and divided by Wonder recipes, there are 20 Wonder recipes. And when you click each one of those recipes, then you can see the different ways that I've used that cutting diagram and layouts for cards and things like that. So it's a really fun system. All right, now in our packet, we have our cards. We do all of the scoring for you, the die cutting of general shapes. Your cards come in an envelope, so you'll have that when you're ready to mail, and the parts are inside. We're going to take the pool party cards from our kit, and we're going to emboss each of the card bases. I used the whimsical Wonderland, the whimsical woodland folder on this. You can use any holiday theme or any embossing folder that you have. I'm going to emboss the entire front of the card. I'm going to show you how to do that safely. If you're not comfortable embossing the entire front of the card, you can take some pool party cardstock, maybe 4 by 5 1/4, and emboss that and then glue it to the card front. I embossed all of my card fronts with the same embossing folder for this Stamp-A-Stack. So if I'm doing this Stamp-A-Stack, I'm going to emboss all the cards at one time. I'm going to use my folder here. I'm going to put, oh, got the wrong orientation. I'm going to put my card into the folder with the design straight along the fold. Then I'm going to pop the card into the machine, back of the card first, line everything up square so that we don't run the edge of the folder along the machine, pop number 4 over the top and give it a crank, making sure that everything stays square and nothing drags. It's possible to emboss the entire front of the card and it looks really awesome, but you have to do it with caution so that you don't ruin your folders. All right, so I've done all of my pool party card pieces with the embossing folder, and now let's adhere the designer series paper. All right, it's a simple and effective layout. We're gonna take the two 2x4 pieces of designer series paper and then add liquid glue to the back. They're both the back and they're both the front. All right, we're gonna lay our designer series paper in kind of a tippy, bouncy sort of manner and fill lots of the card front with that gorgeous paper. That's it, and we'll do all 3. Awesome. All right, there's our designer series papers all done. Now in video number 1, I showed you that there were 9 pieces of white cardstock in the kit. And we're gonna take 5 of those and cut them up to do the inside liners of our cards. So you'll see that I went ahead and I did that for the extra copies of the card. And then we're left with some fun little rectangles and strips that we can use for our gumdrops and trees and such. So let's go ahead and do the inside of our sample card. Our inside panels are 3.5 by 4 3/4. And our little stacked greetings on the inside are entirely in Real Red. So let's grab our mix and match greetings. Got from our home to yours. We're going to start that one at the top of the paper. We're just going to center and level it just about low enough where you could put a greeting at the top to your recipient. And then stack, have a sweet Christmas. And I just did it so that my H was a little bit further than the T in 2. And the T in sweet is just a little bit further than the S in yours. Line everything up nicely. Get a good stack there. And then stamp. And then lastly, we're going to embellish with a little heart. Cute, but simple for making lots and lots of Christmas cards. Enough room to put your greeting, to sign your name, maybe a little personal note. Perfect for Christmas. Let's get the ink pad out of the way so we don't ruin anything with ink. And take our cards. We're going to glue the insides now. All right, we're cruising right along in our stack. Let's take a look at the kit here. In the kit, you have some rectangles, one for each card. We cut these ahead for you. This is a cutting your own kit from the Stitched Rectangles dies, and it's what we call letter E, so it's kind of in the middle. It's about 3 9/16 by 2 1/4. We're going to, for each of these cards, take this rectangle and combine it up with the awesome snowbank die from Sweet Gingerbread. We're going to cut the snowbanks. Now you can, if you want to, do all your snowbanks at one time, because the next card is going to have the little snowbank design too. And you can stack them 2 rectangles and cut 1 snowbank for every 2. And that's what I would do if I was stamping a whole stack all at one time. For the magic of television, I already did my other 2 snowbanks. But if I'm doing the Stamp-A-Stack, then I'm going to stack these 2 pieces of rectangle, and then I'm going to cut 2 pieces at one time and get twice the bang for my cranking buck. Do you know what I mean? All right, so we're going to line up, make an attractive snowbank, something that looks like you'd want to sled down it. And let's give it a crank. And that's going to be the anchor for our Sweet Gingerbread house. All right, so I've got all my snowbanks cut. Let's do our stamping next. All right, so we've got some of that basic white cardstock. We took our 5 sheets and lined our cards, and then we've got 4 sheets left. I recommend doing all of your stamping for all of your cards at one time. But let me show you how that goes for this card. I've done all the multiples and cut them already, but we're gonna do one set. So we're gonna do pool party and stamp the cloud. We're going to stamp the greeting over the cloud. So we want to stamp all of our clouds first and give them a chance to dry. Then we're going to stamp our gingerbread houses. We're going to stamp all of our gingerbread houses using crumb cake. We'll stamp them all at one time and give them just a little bit of opportunity to dry before we start stamping the details on top of wet ink. Now we've got the cutoffs that are left from cutting our card bases. We're going to do our gumdrops and our lollipop and tree and use these little spaces, these little bits. It'll make it easy to line them all up on the die cut machine and die cut everything all at once. So we're going to do a lollipop using soft suede ink, and then we're going to wipe that off and go to real red ink. And this is going to make our 2-tone lollipop. Of course, if you're a very good marker stamp inker, if you are good at doing that 2-color inking, go ahead and do 1 lollipop, ink the stem, ink the stick with soft suede and the candy with real red, and stamp just 1 time. Now we'll do our gumdrops. We need 1 of each color, garden green. And then I'll clean off in between the garden green. Give that just a second to dry before I bring it to the reds. Let's get a garden green tree before we bring our damp stamp and put it in the real red or the sweet sorbet. So we've got our garden green tree. Now we'll pick up some sweet sorbet, do a gumdrop. Go to real red, do a gumdrop. Now we need a little heart for our greeting. Let's get that heart back from, we use that inside. Do 1 for each card. We're doing everything all at one time as best we can, and for all the cards. All right, let's slide these aside. We're gonna bring in a little bit bigger scrap here. I've also saved the hill scraps from the hill that we just cut. So we've got the positive, that's our hill. We're gonna set that aside. But this cutoff piece right here is perfect for doing gingerbread bits. So I'm gonna take the roof and stamp that right on our scrap. And what happens here is as we use these little cutoffs and these ends, it's gonna make it very easy for us to arrange all of these things on the die cut machine and get the most efficient die cutting we can for our Stamp-A-Stack. Got the little door, and I'm going to fill in with Sweet Sorbet. And then the little windows, we're going to fill those in with So Saffron. And all the ink colors are listed on the project sheet. There's a printable project sheet at kitchentablestamper.com. Just follow the links below the video description. Now let's go ahead and ink the details for our house. I do the door and window details first because that makes it really easy to line up the little scroll detail at the top of the house. We're going to ink that with soft suede, line up the bottom of the stamp right up with the top of the window details. Gives you the perfect placement so that the roof doesn't cover your details. Then sending love is our greeting for in the cloud. We're going to stamp it off to the right. Leave room for that little heart. All right, I think we've done all of our stamping now, and we can die cut our bits. All right, so here's what I was talking about. We've got our sheets and we've cut them into strips. We've got the cutoffs from our gumdrops or from our liners with our gumdrops on, and you'll see that all these little bits can be lined right up on the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. It's all set up for die cutting here. Then we can take our dies and line them up and cut almost everything that we need for each card in one pass, even some extra, because Stampin' Up gave us in the gingerbread dies more gumdrops, trees, and lollipop dies. And so that will make cutting all the houses, plus all the fun little details you need to decorate, a breeze. All right, we've got everything we need. It's all lined up. Let's give it a crank and get these all cut. Okay, we've got all of our lovely bits, but some assembly is required. Let's pop them out and get some dimensionals. I love mini dimensionals for this. We've got lots of little bits. So I'm just going to go straight down this brand new sheet and cut an entire row in halves. Now we're going to add the roof to the house and the heart to the cloud. And one of these little halves that we just made is going to be perfect for the heart. And that's going to line perfect for the roof too. Of course, you could use the edge of this cut in strips for the little roof too. I'm going to just pop a couple of half dimensionals to each side, one to each side of the peak. If you want to put one on the peak too, you can. And we'll pop that right on the house. So now we've got a cool little dimensional feature on each of those. Let's do our lollipop. I've got my brown with the stick. I'm going to take my real red, cut the stick off, and then just add a dab of liquid glue to the back of the candy. And then we're going to make this two-tone. Super simple. Now for our gumdrops and tree elements, let's add some dimensional. Can add some dimensional to the back of our lollipop too. I'm gonna further cut up this same edge by cutting a strip and then a little bit. You can put that on the stick of the lollipop. All right, everything's got dimensional. It's assembled. Let's go ahead and sort the pieces. Now we've got one for every card already ready. All right, so we've got all of our little bits all ready to go. Let's bring our sample back in and our cards. And the first thing we'll do is glue the house, the hill, and the greeting cloud. You don't want the cloud to go past the top of the card. So as you're putting these together, you want to keep that in mind. I like to go from the bottom up and just slightly adjust. You can use liquid glue. It gives you some opportunity to slide, and you can put the glue on all three pieces at once. we're going to do the hill just a bit more than an inch from the bottom. Then the house right over the hill, kind of centered, maybe a little bit to the left. And then the cloud so that it pokes out from underneath the chimney. And if we have to, we'll adjust everything. So we'll bring our hill down just a smidge, bring our house down just a smidge, and then bring our cloud down just a smidge so that everything fits within the bounds of the card. So that's the first step in our assembly. Let's do that for the other guys too. We've got all of our houses, hills, and clouds. Now let's take our sticky bits. We've got the tree and the lollipop. They've already got dimensional, peel and stick. And the gumdrops too. And of course you can do them however you like them. I like the little candy bits kind of dancing across the hill. Fun, huh? We'll do all 3 cards. And last, let's embellish. We've got the red and green 3/8 inch ribbon here, and we're gonna go ahead and tie a bow for each of the cards. I like to mix them up. We've got red and green again, and we're gonna do a tiny little bow. It's not thick ribbon, but it's kind of wide and we don't want it to be bulky, so we're gonna fold a tiny bit and then hold that. We'll swoop over the top. So we've got our loop, now we're gonna swoop, and then we'll tuck. So this little space that your finger's holding, you wanna take the tail that's still attached to the card and tuck, pull. So when you make the perfect bow, you loop, swoop, tuck, and pull. Hold the center knot, adjust by pulling the tails, and pull the loops to tighten, and adjust. And now you've got a small little petite bow, perfect for the scale of this card. And you've got absolutely no waste. We'll cut this away from the card, do a clean angle edge, no waste there. Then we'll just adjust this length and angle on the other side. That's all we throw away. So the loop, swoop, tuck, and pull, while it's attached to the card method, will give you the most bang for your ribbon buck. I love Stampin' Up! Ribbon. It coordinates so perfectly. It's beautiful. You get great textures and patterns, but it is expensive. So I hope that my method of tying bows, it makes sense to you, and you can also get the most bang for your ribbon buck. I'm going to just adhere the bows with glue dot at the corner of the house. Fun little embellishment. And second embellishment in your kit, you've got the adhesive backed seasonal sequins, and you can do anything you like here. I'm going to grab my red and green sequins, and I'm going to go opposite colors of the bow this time. So I'm going to do 2 little sequins on each card opposite of the color that I chose for the bow. So I got a red bow here. I'm going to do a big green sequin and a little green sequin. Add some sparkle and that little dance party, the candy dance party. Let's do the other copies of our card. Same way. Add a little sparkle to the candy dance party. And there it is. There's our Sending Love card number 2 and our Sweet Gingerbread Stamp-a-Stack. If you missed video number 1, it's linked below, where we made 4 of this Have a Sweet Christmas. And I will see you tomorrow in video number 3, where we'll make this version using the rest of our designer series paper pieces. All right, you guys, if you've got any questions about the Stamp-a-Stack or the Sweet Gingerbread Stamp-a-Stack class packet, reach out, Marisa at kitchentablestamper.com. You can also call or text. And to shop Stampin' Up! 24/7, buzz over to marisaAlvarez.stampinup.net. And to check out the class packets, see if we have availability, kitchentablestamper.com/shop. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in video number 3.